How's it going, guys? I'm Jeremy, and today I thought I'd tell you guys about van life and kind of the basic things that you should have if you're going to start to do this kind of thing or whatever. I haven't done any crazy remodeling. Like, I haven't gone in there and made this into my permanent home. I need to take some people on tours sometimes, so I can't do too much right now. Plus, I don't plan on permanently being in my van, hopefully. But I figured I'd give you guys some of the advice for your energy source, like refrigeration, the heating and cooling, and some of the other basic things that I could recommend. So the first thing you'll need to do is get organized, because it's a fucking mess. I have all my shit all over. Like I said, I would put everything in boxes or have it much more organized. But since I have some customers, sometimes I have to put the seats up. But you're definitely going to want to have things in boxes or labeled, or even write down where they're at, because you're going to have a lot of stuff. And it's going to take forever to find out where shit's at. So definitely have some system for where you put everything. So the next thing is your energy source is going to be a big thing. I assume most of you guys are on your computer using your electronics all the time. So I got this All Powers battery, basically. That's about 550 with the solar panels. And that's pretty good to run my computer all day long. A computer probably uses about 100 watts, and this can do up to 700 watts. So, for instance, I could use a computer and then I have 600 more watts to use with other things. But you can use a lot of other things, but it'll eat up the batteries quite quick, so you don't want to use too much. For instance, I have this small heater here, which could be decent for, heating the inside of the van for sure, but it's probably only going to last for about an hour, And same thing with the refrigerator. Something like a refrigerator uses a lot of energy. Now, you could use the refrigerator and plug that in when you're driving, and that could keep it cold. I've used those before, and those are great. But to plug it into a battery like this is only going to last an hour or two. So I think this battery is about 164,000 milliamps per hour. So it's pretty good. You could charge your, like I said, your computer should work all day, and then you could charge your phone and, cameras and everything else. So the solar panel intake's about 100 an hour, which is about the same as the computer. So if it's sunny out, I'm not really even using the battery. I'm using mostly the solar power. Now, another thing to know, that solar panels need sun. Not if it's kind of bright out or there's clouds, you need to have direct sunlight. So in the morning when the sun's on the horizon, it should be flat like this. And as it goes up, you can move them to where the sun's at, basically, to get the best recharge out of that. So, temperature is going to be another big thing out here. I'm in Colorado right now, and it's almost winter. It's October, but up in the mountains here, it's definitely cold. So, you're going to want a 0-degree bag and stay really warm that way, and, a hat and all that kind of stuff. Because you're probably not going to be able to have a heater all the time on. I mean, you can get a gas generator or something to run stuff, but I don't know if you'd want to run that all night. So I would just get stuff that keeps you warm enough through freezing temperatures. And then in the morning or before you go to bed, you could turn on your car for 20 minutes to warm it up, take that edge off. And I've found the van does hold in some heat, so it's not too bad. Now, the other thing was, because I've only been doing the van thing for a few weeks, so it's mostly been cooler, but my first night out, I was in Iowa. I was driving out for Buffalo, and it was a little warm. Not too hot outside, but when I got in my van, I got on my computer, and I was like, damn, it's hot in here. I rolled down the window, and when your computer's on, all the bugs go to the light. So the whole van was just, tons of bugs and stuff. So they're only $20 or $30, but you could get a screen that you could put over your window, and you definitely want to get ventilation for the hotter months. And a fan is probably only 20 watts an hour or something. So that's not going to use too much energy. So you get a small fan or something like that for summer. And then the rest of the year, if the temperature's not too bad, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So yeah, before when I was in China, I actually had a refrigerator I plugged in, and that only worked when the car is running. So that's good, because most of the time, I don't need ice for that time. But when the car is off, everything that was cold will get warm in, a few hours or whatever. So you can either get something like that and add ice some of the time, or if you want to spend, because those are about $300 or $400, if you just want to use a regular cooler, that's great too. I mean, I grabbed 2 big bags of ice a couple weeks ago when I left. And in cooler weather, that could last up to 5 days. If you've got some food from the supermarket, let's say frozen beef and pork and stuff like that. That takes like 2 days to defrost. And then you've got another 3 days you could use it, at least, maybe 6 days. So yeah, a couple bags of ice could definitely get you started for a few days. And the only kind of annoying thing with ice is obviously when it melts, all the water gets in all your things. So you can either put it in bags or figure out some kind of system, but it is a little annoying that a lot of the water will come in. So, if you were out for like 2 weeks, you could get some perishables and stuff like that for almost up to a week. And then for like, if you had another week you were staying somewhere, you could use like more like canned food and stuff like that or whatever. So then there's the toilet situation, which isn't great out here. Obviously you could go in the woods, you should bury that. And a lot of areas are rocky, so if you've got to go real quick and you got to dig a hole or something like that, it could be obviously a pain. So I bought a toilet seat, because I don't like to squat personally, so I could bring that into the woods, and you can actually line it with a plastic bag, and then you could get rid of that bag when you get to, a garbage dumpster or something like that. And you're going to want to, because even with like 2 or 3 bags, it's like you can still smell it. It's like, I was like, man, my van smells like a nursing home. That's not good. So yeah, you want to get rid of that quick. But yeah, you could get one of those toilet seats for, I don't know, like $30 or $40. It's kind of handy if you don't want to squat all the time in places, But yeah, if it's raining outside or if you don't have a place to go, you still can go in your van. I know a lot of construction workers, when they're on jobs, there's no bathrooms in the houses. They have to go in a bucket, basically. So this is kind of the same thing. You're just going in a bag, and, make sure that bag's not ripped, because you don't want that getting in your van, obviously. So another thing to think about is your phone plan for, where you're going to and how good the reception and stuff is. I'm out in Colorado, and there's a lot of areas that don't have good reception. I think the best is Verizon, and I have a Mint Mobile, and that goes off, I think, T-Mobile, which isn't that great for Colorado. So that's something else to consider. If you don't have an unlimited plan, then you could go to like visitor centers or coffee shops and stuff like that if you want to like download things. I would just get like the unlimited plan. I think for Mint Mobile it was only like $45 or something, so I could like watch movies when I'm hanging out here. And I usually do try to find camping areas not super far from a town, or somewhere where I have a little reception, just because I like to do some work, or I might want to watch a movie or do whatever, So that's another thing to think about when you're looking for campgrounds and stuff. Are you going to have reception? There's some information online for dispersed camping, but it's not always great. A lot of these things I kind of just find at the last minute. So, but if it's not too far from a town, you should be good. In between towns and in between huge passes, if there's no people, you're not going to get reception. So you can forget about internet for those times. So, you can figure out how you want to cook your food. I usually use that like Coleman stove thing, that like small box, and that's pretty good. Or you could get a smaller one and just cook it like on a frying pan. So you can figure that kind of stuff out on your own. One thing you might want to consider is a carbon monoxide detector in your van, because who knows, you might be really tired and pass out, or you might have had a few drinks or a couple joints too much, and you might have like been cooking something, or you heated up some coffee or something like that, and if there was a small fire, any flame, and you passed out, you're definitely not going to wake up in the morning. So a carbon monoxide detector isn't a bad investment. That's probably only like, I don't know, $5 or $10. So definitely consider getting one of those. Make sure that your spare tire and you have the tools to change the flat, because obviously if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you could definitely get into some trouble out here. There's not a, AAA is going to show up, and I'm like in a dispersed camping ground in the middle of nowhere, basically. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you have all that stuff. I usually make sure I have something like, let's say, Fix-A-Flat and, like a tire pump or something. Instead of changing the tire and spending all that time, try to fill up your tire and at least get to like a town. Because if you spend all that time to change the tire, you're going to get to a town and they're going to change that anyway to a good tire instead of your spare. So at least a Fix-A-Flat and a tire pump could, maybe get you like 10, 20 miles to a town or something like that. And you could try to have them fix it there. It might save you more time. So as far as water goes, I think it's a big waste of money to keep buying like plastic bottles, and even those gallon jugs, like they're not too bad, but there's a lot of clean water sources out in the mountains in most places. Or you could go to like visitor centers and some other places, and like I've got this big jug I use, and I think that's fine for most things. And just refill bottles. Don't spend so much money on things like water. Another thing you're going to want is a shower, right? So they've got like these bags they sell that I use. I got this for like $30, and I basically just fill up a big pot. Like, I'll fill up some of that bag with like colder water or whatever, and then I'll let that big pot heat up for a while. And I'll actually put that into my water jug because it's kind of hard to pour into that small hole. I need like a big funnel or something I'll get later. But for now, I just fill that thing up. And then, I think there's probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 liters or a couple gallons in there. And it's enough to like, you get some water on yourself, and then you get out the soap and everything else, and then you rinse at the end, basically. You don't stand under it for, 10 minutes or anything like that. You do 2 or 3 minutes, and you get soap and stuff, and then another like 2 minutes or something. Obviously, you can fill up that bag more, too, if you need more. And there's other ones that are more, like I just got the cheap one for $30, just see how it works. But you've got some other more expensive ones where like maybe they've got like some solar panel, or they have an automatic heating thing. And so there's other systems that are a little better. But yeah, you're definitely not going to want to hop in a river in Colorado in October or any cold place. So you'll definitely have to look into different shower heads. Or you don't have to shower at all, all winter, which I'm sure you can do if you'd like. But wouldn't be very nice when you go in public. So anyway, I hope this kind of helped you out for the basics of what you'll need. One of the most important things, get the battery with some solar panels to get started. And as far as the heating and stuff like that, or refrigeration, if you want a lot more power, you're going to have to get like, either the gas generators, which are like probably also like $500, $600, $700, whatever you want. Or they definitely have those huge like batteries, basically, which can, I could use my heater or refrigerator probably for like all night or something like that. But that uses a lot more energy. And solar panels, that takes all day, or at least 6-7 hours to charge my small one. So I have no idea how much those huge ones would take. Obviously, you could plug it into your car when you're driving, but I still think it might be a little short there. So you might want to consider the gas ones if you definitely want to use refrigeration or a heater all the time. Be organized, get a good energy source and some solar panels. And you could just start off with a cooler and ice. That should last a few days. And, when you get to those really extreme months, I wouldn't even really stay out here too much. Like, I'll stay out here part of November, but in Colorado it's going to get really cold, so I'll probably have to move indoors, but this should help you at least get started. So I'll make another video or two about van life. I think a lot of people think the van life is great, which it's not bad. It's cheaper than getting hotels for sure, but it's not perfect. And I'll also do another video on living cheap. I think people could live under $1,000 a month in the States if you budget well. So I'll make those videos later, and so I'll see you. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content. My channel has a lot of different stuff from my travels around the world, whether hiking or biking, and some of the things over the years I've done, whether I was in the military, commercial fishing in Alaska, or my experience living in China and Taiwan for 15 years. And I was a teacher there and led tours and did all kinds of stuff. So if that stuff's beneficial for you or entertaining, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.